Rise and shine, everybody. Oh, good morning. We gotta hurry up today. Good news and bad news. Good news and bad news, friends. The good news is I got 6 hours of sleep last night. Wow. Well, this is Robert by Deep Thought Cycle Blogs, in case you got lost somehow and somehow entered into this world of madness without knowing where you're clicking. Don't be confused. It's me and you're you. But I'm the new me today. A little bit late to start because I was too tired. I was too tired last night. I hope that's camera straight. Shit. Gotta stop and see. Got time to mess with the camera. I'm in late. Oh my god, it's up too far. I gotta rock, gotta go. I was too tired to get ready before I went to sleep. I mean, I had 2 hours and I didn't get to bed till 2:30 or 10:30. Still had to prepare so many lessons. So, the good news is I got 6 hours of sleep. The bad news is I had to prepare in the morning, pack my bags, get my kid together. And in doing so, that means the heat is on to not be late. So we gotta go fast today. And we will go fast. Wow. For somebody that never, ever gets to sleep 6 hours, it feels so good. So what's on the news docket for today? Well, we're gonna try to talk about the news in the afternoons. Because in the afternoons, I'll have time to look at my phone and do some news commentary, because I just don't got the time or the memory to pull the stories out of the head. I don't got the time to look at my phone right now and read the stories. If there's a big news event I can remember, like, let me see, I read last night, I think, before I went to bed. See if there's anything I can remember from the news. See if there's anything. World stories. Nope, nothing there. I never talked about before. What else?
22.2, heart rate 124.
Technology. Google, I don't know. Nothing there. Oh yeah. McDonald's is making happy boxes into Google cardboard cutouts. You know what's funny? When I read that story, I guess in China, they're messed up because they're not going to get access to Google Cardboard in China because Google's not allowed in China. And if that be a small example of what's representative of the whole on what people are missing, then there it is. Oh, my tires feel slow today. Colder weather, maybe the pressure's lower, colder air, maybe that's why I feel so slow. Tires are feeling slow. Look at that nice wreck. Trash over there. Oh my God, it looks like a body. Oh, it looks like a body on the streets, and I don't got time to do nothing about it. So, only the people over there for jobs. Okay, so what do we know? Google Cardboard for you and not for China. Oh well. What other technology news do we have? Forbes released a list like 1,810 people own trillions of dollars. That's how it works more and more, right? Less people, more money. More people on Earth, they're not getting the money evenly. Our humanity works. As we evolve more, less people evolve ways to get more money. You watch that guy Conor McGregor on UFC, they ask him what does he motivates him. He says, movement of the body and movement of money. And movement of money to him, the body. Movement of money, oh my God. Google, got ready for a while. What's up? Google has a problem with this car running into a bus. No big deal. I find it mildly entertaining that nobody is talking about history. You know, I was surprised. I was very surprised when I heard that Howard Zinn was being used, a people's history of the United States was being used in university classrooms. I remember when there's no way they would use that in classrooms. And it was educational to me. So I was really shocked, kind of, to hear that Americans' classrooms have used Howard Zinn as history material. That would almost be surprising to me. As if, I mean, it's like saying, oh, Noam Chomsky is going to teach history too. So, I am surprised to hear that. But where was I going with that thought? Where was I going with that thought? Oh my God, going crazy. Going crazy. It'll come back to me. Jesus. Jesus. Let me think on it a second. We were talking about the news. Talked about the millionaires. Talked about, oh yes, okay. I got it now. We're talking about Google's self-driving car. And Google's self-driving car hitting a bus. And we're talking about how is it that in this time of crazy things happening, that we are not teaching more history. And Howard's in of people's history is an example of mainstream education being disrupted. But Howard's in is by no means the only educator that is capable of disrupting mainstream education. We have other educators, and we have other sources. Like, I saw a documentary long ago called Taken for a Ride. And it's like Who Killed the Electric Car a little bit. But those two documentaries, Taken for a Ride and Who Killed the Electric Car, they should be part of any student's repertoire. See how the Chinese people ride with the jackets in front of them? That's so goofy. Anyways, let's talk about Taken for a Ride. Taken for a Ride, I think, as a fantastic piece of journalism and a great base of education. It goes back until the early 1900s to talk about transportation and mass transportation and how it changed things. And what do I mean by that? Well, back in the early 1900s, cities in California and all over, not just California, Chicago, New York, I guess, they had very functional electronic transportation systems. Not Tesla, but rail cars. Oh yeah, it's a big fucking street, asshole. Choose a lane. So anyways, they had lots of transportation. There was electric streetcars, and they were working pretty damn good, and they were affordable. And we're talking about going from horses of courses to electric cars and electric trams. And can you imagine that? It's like, sure, they had steam cars that were not successful, Stanley Steamer, and sure, they had gas cars and other things like that, but they had electric cars. And by God, it wasn't just a fantasy. I mean, it wasn't like the Hyperloop. It was something much different. On to develop. There's a university I used to teach in before. Oh, I got stories about that one later on one day. Anyhow, they didn't just have an idea. They said, okay, we're gonna go from horses, and boom, there's the tracks. Boom. Sim City, here you go. Electronic transportation. But now I haven't watched this documentary for quite some time, but I feel it's quite relevant to where we're standing today. There's a nimble group. Anyways, what do we know? This fantastic invention of electric transportations, it had a hidden competitor, like a snake in the grass. GM, General Motors, is a terrible company. Bad. Because long ago, basically the founders of GM, they went around the whole country and they bought all the public transportation systems out, and they bought the competing bus systems, and they said the motor and gas and cars is a way to go. And they forced, through lobbying and under the table deals, what they call in China today, guanxi. I mean, realistically, China in 2016, and especially 1990 to 2016, China followed America's model at the turn of the century quite well, and they even expanded on it. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that. They think that these people, workers on the factory from the countryside, like a dinosaur, the last of Guangzhou, the most poorest people, they used to come to the city like this all the time just to go to work. And now those jobs are almost gone. So production has moved to Philippines. They don't have those factory jobs. These people you see walking come from the poorest areas to come and work so cheap. And as soon as they get educated, find a way out, they'll leave that factory job. But they stop coming to cities. We'll talk about that later on. Anyhow, GM and GM grandfathers, they went around buying these fully functioning public transportation systems and lobbying them to death and doing what China doing. They didn't say paying under the table and corrupt government, their way of taking power. Well, they took power. Infiltrated public offices. Actually, the chairman of GM actually went on to become like the chairman of the transportation department, highways for the US. Can you believe that? A government office of transportation became directed by a private company who sought to get profit by growing the automobile industry and the oil industry. Look up the facts. Do you think they had any motivation to give efficient transportation to anybody? You could look up how pollution was when automobiles first got released into the streets, how bad it was. Everybody was complaining. It was really bad. But as time goes by and people in the private businesses got jobs in the government and changed the textbooks in the schools and started the factory schooling, nobody asked questions. Nobody said, hey, what's up? We had Teslas, we had nice, efficient and clean electric trolley cars. Why? Well, GM over there, nice and beautiful. See over there? Another cannon, that probably goes the best. But GM actually tore up. They tore up all the rail track, all the tracks, and all those public transportation systems disappeared, and people's memories were erased. And now, as we strive to change in what this golden, maybe this is the golden age of electricity. Who knows what they're going to call it? Now that we strive to change in this golden age of electricity, nobody remembers that we were already there 100 years ago. Nobody questions how it got so bad. They blindly follow their daily distractions. But our technology is becoming so advanced that in 5 years, you won't be able to buy these gas cars. It'll be like trying to buy a non-smartphone. People's thirst for upgrades and thirst for technology is going to be greater than what the private companies wish was. Do you think, I mean, they got the car show, they just had the auto show in Geneva or something, and you hear the news stories about the new Austin DB7 or whatever in the new, there's new supercars being released, 700 horsepower, blah blah blah. And when you read about the specifications from these new cars, you see people in the comments talk about how they love their Tesla P85D or whatever, and all of a sudden it is not so appealing, it is not so sexy to read about these cars in the Geneva Auto. So it's like reading about BlackBerry telephones or Nokia or even Microsoft trying to make phones before they died. Come on, just die. There's nothing attractive about these cars anymore, and I think industry knows it. It's no, can't hide that. So that takes us to our next documentary of who killed the electric car. Come on, why don't we teach this in mainstream classrooms? Why don't we teach about those electric cars that you could plug in that were in production in the US? And I don't know how many they made, a couple hundred, and they leased them out to people. And the owners of these cars, they love them. Does that look like a Saturn, I guess? And the owners, they were madly in love with them. They talk about the Chevy Bolt. Give me a break. The Chevy Bolt's not even close to approaching what the EV1 was, I believe the name was. And what these electric cars were. Pales in comparison in both acceptability and time to market. Well, after these fantastic fleet of electric cars was released, And the people loved them so much, they were told, sorry, your lease is over. You need to bring these cars in. We're going to destroy them. And the people said, what? I love my car. Don't destroy it. Why not use it for education? And they say, oh yeah, we'll send it to some schools and we'll use it to teach children. And the people were protesting. They tried to block it. They actually had funerals, mock funerals for the cars. But all the cars were taken out to a secret location on film, and perfectly working cars, perfectly working very well, were put into machines and smashed and destroyed on camera. This isn't some kind of crazy conspiracy theory. And the motivation behind that, you could go ask the oil industry, who Elon Musk so eloquently said, all the people and all the bad guys from the tobacco industry have joined forces to make their new money. We're lobbying for the oil industry and doing things like killing cars. Yeah, go, man, go, go, go. What's up, man? Go. Killing cars. Smashing electronic cars. I mean, taking them from actual customers who paid for them, who protested to keep them such a successful, and taking them to destroy them, to try to stop all those people who are saying, wait a second, don't do this. We have a model for planned obsolescence, and that model means that we are not allowed to go at a fast speed, like from horses to electric intercity transportation. That's against our law, against the law of corporate capitalism, against the law of delivering efficiency and value and purpose for people to make life better. No, we have to squeeze every tiny bit of profit, squeeze every drop that we can out of the people, squeeze every drop that we can out of the economy, and externalize our costs. Look at that, milling machines. Externalize our costs. That way people in China and other third world countries, their whole economy could be to supporting our externalized consumption. Pretty bad. And let me tell you what that means. I have a friend who sadly lost his mother some years ago to cancer, and whose father has tuberculosis. Like so many other people in this area, they have tuberculosis still, and cancer. It's very sad. He's losing the fight against cancer, and that's not all. More than 20 people in his village dying from cancer. Kids are dying, 16, 17 years old, from cancer. Babies are not being born in his village anymore. And he can't bring his father to this village where we live, to this city, because the social insurance will only take care of him on location where he's living in the north. They will not provide access to healthcare if he comes to the south. So he's living in this whole city, is suffering the results of pollution and production that comes from a global economy of externalized costs. And a lot of people mistakenly place the blame on China, saying, oh my God, well, you know, the same logic is behind the war on drugs in Mexico. The demand from the US is so high. If those electric cars and those street systems of efficiency were not destroyed and costs were not externalized, and there was not such a demand for drugs in Mexico, my friends, family would not have died from cancer, and neither would the people in this village. Our actions are affecting people on a global scale, which is why we need to be having the right textbooks and the right lessons in the classroom. So when I read about Google's self-driving car, come on, that's like talking about self-operated elevators. Sure, they used to have bellmen and doormen and elevator men to do that. It's long since not been a necessity. And why are we facing that right now? And to see companies like Apple say, well, Apple's going to develop electric self-driving car, and Google is, and Tesla is. We are facing a time of convergence like no other. When the cars are self-driving and you no longer fantasize about increased horsepower, I mean, to go to the red light like at the Geneva Convention, and when basically two different products from two different companies enjoy the same technology, that their differences are not measurable. I mean, an electric engine is going to produce the same amount of horsepower, and I mean, what horsepower? We don't use horses anymore. It's not even has any meaning. And with electric cars, from stop to go, we really don't need to talk about 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds. Where is the meaning? Every car, oh, there's sunrise, you see that? Polluted and anyways, every car that's going to be produced, the body style might be a little bit different as we learn technology about coefficients and drag rates. Come on, what are they going to make different? Seat room, seat technology. There's going to be little need to have multiple companies with competing technologies, because like the USB port, as technology continues to evolve and all the inefficiencies are worked out, there becomes lesser need. Sure, if there's an innovative new feature, if there's one innovative new feature on a car that's so innovative, every car company is going to have that same feature. Take LED, take headlighting technology, for example. There's not a single innovative technology which is not replicated if the success of that technology is not great enough. So, I believe that there's no way that we're going to be looking at different car companies in the future. We're going to be looking at convergence, and companies need to be working on updatability like Linux. We need to be working on one car model that has an updatable platform that any company could be capable to add the updates, like the internet. As companies develop internet technology, the internet is not one single company, but it is one single entity of technology, which has been updated by millions of people together for a greater course. That is why we have streaming video, and on the background, on the shoulders of giants. Well, that same theory needs to be applied to automobiles, platforms, and we need to have a base platform that can be updated instead of wasting our time with competing. And that being said, the challenge would not be in creating independent brands, but the new challenge becomes creating local production-based facilities. We should be focused on local distribution of a unified base electrical car. You know, I was once teaching PowerPoint presentations to people from Colgate-Palmolive here in China. They ran the Colgate-Palmolive factories, and one of the factory managers had just came up from India, where he talked about Colgate actually created an entire factory within separate provinces of India rather than pay the Indian government the taxes to transfer that product between provinces. They did that on a profit-based need. My suggestion is let companies compete in the race to localize production of a successful product rather than trying to recreate the same product. While it does have productive value to compete to make the same product, collaboration can be more efficient than competition. Humans so much mention the phrase healthy competition. I think in 2016 we have to stop thinking about healthy competition, and we need to start thinking about healthy collaboration. Look at that. The internet 2.0, collaborative learning, massive open learning, MOOCs, open learning online communities, seeing the largest universities in the world today are open learning universities. We should be able to replicate that. Here I am talking, and yesterday I was able, with 2 hours of sleep, to get to the bottom of this hill Probably 37 minutes, 38 minutes. Right now, 38 minutes, I'm at the top of the hill. So, I was 2 minutes faster yesterday. I have to ask myself, was I faster because I wasn't talking? Was I faster because I was carrying less materials in my bags? Or was I faster because my body had gone 70 kilometers less? Am I getting tired as I commute more? Has that caused my speed to decrease? It's hard to say. Is it colder? Cause my air, my tires to have a lower pressure, more rolling resistance? I mean, I'm looking at a 3-minute difference right now. Am I paying the price for not letting my muscles sleep? There's a very good chance of that. I don't feel that I'm going less harder. So that's what we talked about with Google and the challenge of local production. I mean, look at this bike I'm riding. Surely, and a lot of companies, they have the buy local policy. Right idea. But we need to tweak it a little bit. We need to tweak it a little bit. So what else did I see in the news? It gave me reason to think. Google, self-driving cars, science and technology. I found during the science or archaeology section, they found a carved stone pendant from 11,000 years ago. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. There's almost no news stories about things that have happened during the last ice age. And 11,000 years ago would have put that at the period of the end of the last ice age. And I don't know why mainstream media had such little focus on this time period. So I was excited to read some information about this. What is this article going to tell me, I was wondering? How are they going to talk about it? Because they always talk about 5 and 6 and 4,000 years ago, but never 11,000 years ago. They used the term, not Neolithic, but something Mesolithic or something. And this term was interesting to me. I never hear this term used to describe time periods. I Googled it. I used Wikipedia. And according to Wikipedia, people that use this term, it could talk about 8 to 10,000, 8 to 20. I mean, this term is, depending on geographic location varies. 8 to 11, they say the time period between the Neolithic time, and that doesn't make sense. So it begs the question, is there some kind of conspiracy that keeps the media from discussing artifacts from this time period? Because I challenge you, I know that it is harder to find artifacts from the Ice Age naturally, but if you take a look at the news stories, look hard and deep, there is very little information released. So that was pretty interesting. I wish I had the technical details about the name and stuff, but it's more about what was not mentioned in that article and all the related articles that are missing from everyday news that made that article pretty interesting. And of course, there's the sensationalist news. In Russia, a woman was found running through the streets with a 4-year-old child's decapitated head. The first thing I did is I associated that age with the children I teach and my own children. Brought great sadness to my heart. But you know, and then the second thing I thought was, for this incident, this lady needed psychological help. But we see in the newspaper, in mainstream medias, we see tiny. Every day we see a little bit about children getting murdered or hurt in one form or the other. Almost as if there's a thirst in mainstream media to see that kind of sadness, to pull those emotional strings in the readers like a dirty addiction. I personally cannot even read the details of any of these stories. It doesn't do anything for me to see pictures of that. And issues of mental health, it's just one of the problems that we need to face on our planet to stop things like that happening. And then, of course, the video of the baby that fell out of the back of the van on the streets of China. I don't know if you saw that video. Pretty sad that could happen. But you know, from my experience in China, things like that happen every day, and much worse. And the education level of the people, common safety etiquette of wearing helmets on a bike or on a motorcycle, or not riding with 10 people on a motorcycle, or food safety, material handling safety, basic kitchen safety. I mean, a lot of people in the US, they might get a job in the fast food industry, and to get a job they might need to get a worker safety card, food handling certification, and that small certification, people might think, oh my god, that's unnecessary, what a headache. Well, in China, any restaurant you go to, anywhere that food is handled, and this is not just related to food, this is related to all things where safety is required, like handling safety materials, sitting in a car. There is no base education. You know, I taught in medical universities for many years in China. I actually taught in hospitals, staff. Basic education about cross-contamination and washing your hands and clean room practices, bacteria handling practices for kitchens. That is not followed at all in China. There's no certification required for that. If there was certification, I guarantee you there'd be fake licenses. People could buy their fake license, like paying for somebody else to do your driving exam. But so seeing that baby fall out of the back of that van, number one, I think, thank God, that child is not hurt and nothing happened to that child. And I'm sure the parents love that baby very, very much. But that's just a small representation of the larger challenges facing 1.38 million of the world's population. And I see people who joke about it online. I see foreigners come to China every day, and many times the baseline of their jokes are putting down the local Chinese people based on their etiquette, their lack of knowledge. They fail to realize if they lived in the United States or Europe, or if there was not the same basic education, they would be doing the same things. If you look at hospitals in the 1940s, 1930s, you would see the same thing happening in China today. The difference is, today, society enjoys the benefit of progress. Give China the opportunity. You know, stop externalizing costs and only demand that they work for cheap profit and putting cheap factories to avoid local production into their country, and creating an economy where the only jobs are the jobs for people that have repetitive movements that cannot think. I mean, the reason why these people are not educated is because the environment was created to not educate them to maintain cheap production. How many highly educated people do you think are going to want to go work in a factory for nothing, while people in the West make 100 times profit on somebody else's production? They do all the hard work. They pay for the development and distribution of this product with their own education, natural resources. Their babies fall out of the back of vans to support the development and shopping addiction of those people. In those economies of the West. So So when you see that baby falling out of the van from those peasants in the countryside who come out of generations of servitude for your shopping enjoyment, you should imagine seeing people from Europe or US actually with an invisible hand pushing that child out onto the streets, because that's what's actually happening. It's like if you travel back in time and the butterfly effect. Well, that's butterfly effect is not a theory. Series of events lead to often other series of events, which at first may seem unpredictable, but now, come on, those in power, they are aware of the pain being influenced to externalize costs. They try. GM said if we could, we'd put a factory on a boat. I quote you, this is the CEO's words. I wish we could put a factory on a boat and move that boat around the world to wherever the cheapest production is located at. That was his words, and that's what they do. So, while you are not trying to be evil, and you may be listening to this video, not wanting to push babies out on the streets, you have to realize that your corporate masters are pushing millions of babies out of the back of vans daily through their policies of externalized cost and a massive butterfly effect going on. Haven't you watched Back to the Future? Haven't you seen The Time Traveler? Haven't you watched Star Trek? Don't you know what happens when you mess with the timeline? You're messing with the timeline right now, everybody, right now. Wake up. Don't do it. These are deep thoughts. In the deep thought cycle, going to work. A little bit too late though. Jesus Christ. I have to work on my timing. Challenges. Like hunter-gatherers. Hunting for my family. Instead of killing animals, I'm educated children. On the hunt right now. Hardest part of the job is going there. Woo-wee. How many people work harder than me to go to work? How many months and days do they go to work to get money to pay for that car that they want to go to work in? Everybody works hard. Some people don't even know or understand what they're working for. I'm happy to lose weight. I'd be healthy. I guess I'll work on that right now and do it while going to help kids. Look at this. There's a river. There's a pollution. See the pollution on the city? Yeah. Going in our lungs. All the beautiful people on this earth being forced to live a shorter life span. Here's a great animation I saw from a movie with Charlie Chaplin, where the worker was tightening screws, tightening bolts with the wrench. Well, yesterday, I was already at work right now. That's the speed difference. Yesterday, I'd be there locking my bike up right now. A little bit slower today. Oh, I'm sorry. This Charlie Chaplin movie shows Charlie Chaplin as a worker on the factory line, tightening bolts. And you don't want to stop tightening bolts until he got sucked in the machine. And even when the machine sucked him in, he was still tightening the bolts on the machine, on the wheels that were doing the sucking. He was tightening those bolts. And then they pulled him out of the machine, and he was still tightening the bolts. He'd start tightening the nose and the ears of the person that pulled him out. In this movie, the only thing he had left in his body was like a zombie, tightening the bolts and that repetitive motion, tightening the bolts. We do need to tighten bolts, but we have to be careful not to get too sucked into that machine, that we are the robots that are doing the bolt tightening, that we are playing that role. Look at Lamborghini service. Unbelievable. That we are playing that role, what Charlie Chaplin warned us about. Lest we not become those bolt tighteners ourselves. Lest we not become those baby pushers. Lest we not forget EV1 and the beautiful transportation systems of the past that were destroyed. Well, that's all I got, folks. Classroom on a bike. Deep thoughts. Have a good day wherever you're at. It'll take me some time to get this uploaded. Hey, yeah. Hey, Justin, how?
You can speak Cantonese.
Oh, Cantonese.
Very good.
How do you say? Cantonese is Joseon, how?
Cantonese. Joseon.
Joseon.
Cantonese.
Oh, it's so much harder though.
Not only Chinese.
It's so harder to speak
Also Cantonese.
Well,
you can speak.
I must try to do that better.
Yeah, I was told your wife is Chinese girl.
She is Chinese, yes, from Guangxi. But she speaks Zhonghua a lot.
So you can speak English, Chinese, Cantonese, and
Slowly but surely, I'm trying. Okay, let's lock up and be on our way. Whoa, 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 whoa. Huh.